You've been closely watching this show and this network, and even on social media, you've probably heard of Project 2025, sometimes also called the Presidential Transition Project. It's a 900-page policy document put together by a bunch of conservative interest groups as a guide for how a second Trump administration can weaponize the federal government in pursuit of a, frankly, frighteningly authoritarian vision. It's also a wish list of a bunch of fringe far-right policy proposals that I think many voters would be really horrified to learn about. It seems like a lot of people are starting to pick up on the project and its proposals, thanks to warnings like this one from host Taraji B. Henson at this week's BET Awards.
Pay attention. It's not a secret. Look it up. They are attacking our most vulnerable citizens. The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
According to some reports, the project actually began trending on Google immediately after those comments. But even with the new influx of attention, I still think the details of Project 2025 are undercovered relative to how absolutely unhinged they are, even by the standards of today's Republican Party. So, first and foremost, there is this nakedly authoritarian plotting, like the plan to weaponize the Department of Justice as a tool directly under the control of Donald Trump. Quoting from the document itself, the DOJ falls under the direct supervision and control of the President of the United States as a component of the executive branch. Litigation decisions must be made consistent with the President's agenda. By the way, Justice John Roberts just endorsed that in the 6-3 immunity decision, so they've got carte blanche on that. What it means is that Donald Trump directs the Department of Justice. There is no independence. There's no firewall. He tells them what to do, who to prosecute, who to defend, and the like. And I think this portion of Project 2025, the authoritarian plots to purge the civil service, replace it all with MAGA loyalists, like deep down into the government, is getting most of the attention, and for good reason. But there's so much more to Project 2025, including, again, a whole bunch of fringe, hard-right culture war stuff. So, for instance, unsurprisingly, the document calls for a full-out, whole-of-government approach to the assault on reproductive rights on women. For conservatives to gratefully celebrate the greatest pro-family win in a generation, overturning Roe v. Wade. It includes an effective abortion ban by calling for the FDA, right? They're going to appoint people to the FDA who suddenly announce, oh, you can't have a medication abortion. Reverse its approval of chemical abortion drugs like mifepristone, which is used in the majority of all abortions in this country. And again, in red and blue states where abortion is legal or not. And to be clear, there's no absolutely justification for this, right? Mifepristone has been used safely for decades. This is not a scientific determination. They're going to put some apparatchik into charge of FDA to do this. Project 2025 wants to take it away, citing in part the hundreds of thousands to millions of babies whose lives have been unjustly taken through chemical abortion. The document goes further than FDA approval, calls on the Department of Justice to criminalize sending the pill through the mail under the Comstock Act, an archaic anti-obscenity law from the 19th century, which has been rendered largely unenforceable in subsequent decades. In addition to the abortion pill, Project 2025 also wants to strip the mandate for free emergency contraception from Obamacare. And look, Republicans are not going to stop until they have all but eliminated access to reproductive health care in this country, full stop. They're also, not surprisingly, committed to stopping the enormous seismic green energy transition to doom us to the most catastrophic consequences of climate change. The document refers to attempts to mitigate climate change, to mitigate it as a radical climate policy. It calls for an end to the unprovoked war on fossil fuels, for the government to oppose eyesore windmills built at taxpayer expense. Document also calls for all federal laws, grants, regulations, and contracts to delete every instance of the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, and reproductive rights, saying they're used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. Reproductive health. It demands the Department of Health and Human Services immediately put an end to the department's foray into woke transgender activism. And get this, I don't think people know this, but people should. Pornography should be outlawed, and the people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. America 2024. Now, I promise you, I could go on like this for an entire hour. I encourage you to read the document for yourself. Remarkably easy to find with a cursory search online. And that, of course, is because Republicans are incredibly proud of their little project. listen to the project's architect, the president of the Heritage Foundation, on this network last month.
The organization in this plan talks about changing the Department of Health and Human Services to the Department of Life. Do you think that women in America should be able to get an abortion if that is what their doctor says they need?
Abortion's not health care. I find it really interesting, if not worse, that you wouldn't support the change of the department name to the Department of Life. I thought we were all in support of life. We believe eminently in women's rights, and particularly women's rights in the womb.
Women in the womb. That position is openly and proudly out of touch with what most Americans want. But that's sort of the point, because Project 2025 is in many respects about power, about a right-wing vanguard minority forcing its fringe agenda onto the American voters by any means necessary. This is what we're going to go to do, and you can't stop us. And if you think I'm exaggerating, just listen to that same Heritage Foundation president on an episode of Steve Bannon's podcast yesterday, guest hosted by former Republican Congressman Dave Brat, because Bannon is currently in prison.
We're in the process of taking this country back. The reason that they are apoplectic right now, the reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Right on. Thank you, brother.
I'm cool, buddy. We're in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. In other words, we won't be violent if you don't make us. They're not really bothering to veil their threats anymore. Project 2025 is a straight-up dictatorial fantasy of control over the American people. And when they talk about revolution, taking the country back, what this means is that this small coterie of hard-right zealots, these really creepy weirdos, are going to exert total control over every aspect of your life in terms of what you look at and what you read, what you mail, what your health care is. That guy controlling your health care? You want that? They're not trying to hide it. And everyone should know. You remember that story from a couple years ago where the former NFL quarterback Brett Favre was caught up in a state of Mississippi welfare fraud scandal. It involved state officials diverting funds meant for poor, mostly black women and children, according to public records. The series ran in this small nonprofit outlet called Mississippi Today. And we featured it on our show quite a bit. We spoke with Anna Wolf, the reporter who broke the story back in September of 2022. It was just a remarkably impressive piece of investigative journalism that went on to win a Pulitzer last year. But since then, as NBC News correspondent Ken Delanian explains, the reporter has been embroiled in a lawsuit that might land her in jail.
This is the kind of corruption that Mississippians know all too well.
Anna Wolf's reporting at Mississippi Today exposed a huge scandal in the poorest state in America. $77 million in welfare funds intended for children in need went instead to multiple pet projects, including this horse ranch, this volleyball arena, and to sports celebrities like Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre. Favre was never charged, but the reporting led to 8 criminal indictments and journalism's biggest prize. Adam Ganishow is the editor of the paper.
You can't just win a Pulitzer unless there's real impact.
2 days after the Pulitzer announcement, we got the first threat of legal action.
Former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant, who was in office when the fraud occurred, is suing the newspaper, Wolf, and other staffers for defamation, saying Mississippi Today wrongly accused him of a crime. Allegations in court documents suggest Bryant was among those who directed the spending, but he maintains he did nothing illegal.
I did nothing wrong. I wasn't aware of the wrongdoings of others.
How would you explain to somebody who's never heard about this Phil Bryant's overall role in the welfare scandal?
So it's pretty well laid out. It doesn't say that he did anything illegal. This is an agency under the governor's office. I mean, he has control, he has oversight.
Bryant did not initially sue over the newspaper's prize-winning reporting. Instead, he brought the case over how the reporting was later described, including when the newspaper's CEO said Bryant embezzled funds, which is not true. He was never charged, and there's no indication he's under criminal investigation. Bryant's attorney, Billy Quinn, says that was the last straw.
So here we are,
to give, one of their favorite words, accountability to the situation. Well, the rabbit's got the gun now. We'll see who's going to be accountable.
The rabbit's got the gun now. Think about that phrase. Because the former governor of Mississippi is a public figure suing for defamation, he must show there was actual malice, basically a reckless disregard for the truth. And so he's asking for the paper's internal emails and the names of confidential sources. That is something journalists simply do not divulge. If Wolf and her editor do not turn over their files, they face possible prison time.
Are you willing to go to jail?
Yeah.
It's real. It's scary, but something I think we feel very strongly about.
Free press is essential to the workings of a free society, and what Anna Wolf and her editors are facing right now is really scary stuff.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.